Dana White is not a fan of Merab Dvalishvili, and he made that perfectly clear after UFC 306. The truth is, Dana hates Merab, and in this video, I'm going to tell you the full story behind it. So after Merab's win against Peter Yan in March of 2023, Merab claimed the #1 spot in the bantamweight rankings, and the UFC offered him a bantamweight title shot. At the time, Merab's teammate Aljamain Sterling was the current champion, so for obvious reasons, Merab turned down the title fight. Dana White was absolutely livid with Merab's refusal to face Aljo and sent a warning to Merab. Here's what he had to say.
You've made no secret that you don't love it when a guy doesn't want to fight his teammate. And Merab is clear that he will not fight Aljamain Sterling and he'll wait until Aljo moves up. So what do you do with him, right? Because you don't necessarily want to put him against other contenders, knock off other contenders before they can fight for the title. So what do you do with Merab?
It's so funny you say that because I don't remember who the hell I was talking to the other day about this. And I was like, yeah, we don't have to deal with that bullshit anymore. Back in the early days, the camps were so small. You didn't have a lot of different options. So we had a lot of these guys saying, oh, he's my friend, he's my friend. You can still be friends and want what your friend has. You know what I mean? It would be a really bad idea for Merab to go down that path.
Is there a point where you sort of say, right, that's enough, you have a decision to make, or you have to move divisions, or what do you do with him?
Yeah, so does Merab want a shot at the title, or would Merab rather have people under him jump over him and him have to take on all these different tough guys when he's not even getting a title shot when he's next in line for it? That's a personal decision that he needs to make. If that's what he wants to do, I can tell you how that story ends. It's not a good ending to that story, but he's a big boy. He can figure that out on his own.
Merab responded to Dana's comments during an interview with Ariel Helwani. Merab said the UFC brass warned him that if he didn't face Aljo, they wouldn't give him any fights in the top 5 despite him being the #1 contender.
Did you see Dana White's comments after the fight about you and Aljo fighting and saying that it would be a mistake if you didn't take that fight? He knows how the story ends. What do you make of these comments if you saw them?
Yeah, I did see this, and actually, that wasn't first time. First time he said that it was after I beat Josie Aldo, and Joe Rogan asked me again, and I said very clear, please don't ask me this question again, because I was mad because right before fight, all people asking me, oh, if you win, would you fight Aljo? I said, let me fight, let me win.
Yeah.
Like, why are you asking me now? I was so over it to keep asking same question, and Aljo already has a booked fight. And I say, true from my heart. And we met Dana White after, and he was talking my coach, like I should not mention that. And after that, matchmaker Sean Shelby was saying, he cannot give me O'Malley fight, he cannot give me Chito Vera, he cannot give me Corey Sanhagan, or even Peter Yan, because if I beat them and then I'm not fighting my friend title, and I understand business, and I was so sad that it was no fight for me. But luckily, Peter pushed the fight, and they give me this Peter fight, and I'm happy and I appreciate it.
So they didn't want to put you up against like a top contender. Didn't they want you to fight like Ricky Simone or someone like that?
Yeah, they told me to fight Ricky Simone, and then I have 8 fight win streak. I'm like number 2 or 3 that time, and like I already beat Ricky Simone. Like everybody go. Whoever don't watch this fight, everybody just go UFC Fight Pass and watch this fight. I beat this guy.
As punishment for refusing to fight his teammate Aljo, the UFC tried forcing Merab to face the number 11th ranked contender, Umar Nurmagomedov. This obviously made no sense for Merab because he was ranked #1 and Umar was number 11, so to avoid this fight, Merab decided to undergo surgery for an old hand injury he sustained before his fight with Peter Yan.
I can lift my arm, even I have a pain. I'm gonna try to recover as soon as possible, and as I say, I'll be back as soon as possible, and I will fight whoever, man.
This no doubt annoyed the UFC brass because they tried using Merab as a stepping stone to fast-track Nurmagomedov to the title, but Merab wasn't having none of it. On X, Umar Nurmagomedov reacted saying, UFC Dana White offered me main event, May 13, I accept against Merab, he have injury, I wish him a speedy recovery, but I'm waiting to share the cage with him, June or July. This injury would subsequently put Merab on the sidelines for 4 months from March until July 2023, so in the meantime, UFC booked Aljo to defend his title against Sean O'Malley. Despite Aljo losing his title in that fight, after the fight, Dana White continued to reiterate that if Aljamain Sterling and Merab Dvalishvili don't fight each other, they will be kicked out of the UFC.
Touched on a little bit about maybe who's next for O'Malley, and I'm just wondering what is the likelihood that it would be Merab? I know that there's some controversy of him not wanting to fight. He wants Aljo to have the rematch. What's your idea for that?
Everybody in this room and everybody who watches this video knows how I feel about this shit. Yeah. Yeah, I hate it. Hate it. And if that's... Why did you even get into this sport if that's your mentality and the way that you think? I don't even want the title. I don't even want the championship. We're friends. We're this. We're that. This is not... You can be friends with everybody in this business. There's a lot of nice people in this business, a lot of good people. This is not about friendship. This is about finding out who the best in the world is. And if you don't want to find out who the best in the world is, this is not the place for you. You should be somewhere else. There's plenty of places to fight where they don't give a shit what you do. Doesn't work here.
Despite being the #1 contender, the UFC was reluctant to give Merab Dvalishvili a title shot after him declining multiple fights, so in February of 2024, UFC booked Merab for a comeback fight against the former double champion, Henry Cejudo. Merab defeated Cejudo in a one-sided unanimous decision and showed undeniable dominance in that fight. As a result, the UFC was forced to give Merab the title shot. O'Malley vs Dvalishvili was eventually booked for UFC 3 at the Sphere, and Dana White spent $20 million to host the event. 3 weeks before the fight, Dvalishvili posted this video showing a gash on his eyelid, then he posted a video of him cutting out stitches with scissors. This understandably infuriated Dana White because he spent $20 million on UFC 306, and here was Merab just casually putting the entire event in jeopardy.
Could I ask you two other Merab's cut? What do you know about Merab's cut? Can you make any?
The whole world knows about Merab's cut. He posted it. I mean, our guys are so dumb. It's next level, unbelievable. It's all the stuff that I talk about boxing. What I will give boxing is when something happens in a camp. Man, let me tell you what, it does not leak. You know, our guys can't fucking wait to throw it up on social media. It's a small cut, it's no big deal, but obviously needed to be posted.
Against a guy like O'Malley, who's a sharpshooter and who's a very accurate puncher, now all of a sudden there's a big target for him.
And why the fuck would you want him to know that? Yeah. It is next level stupid. Some of these guys are so stupid, it's mind-boggling. It's unbelievable.
You already said it was not a smart decision to share the cut, but have you thought of a replacement for that fight? Is it someone that you've been working in the last?
No.
Not because of this, but it's a big fight.
No, I don't even talk like this. Don't you dare throw the jinx on me. The cost of doing this production, if we have to change anything, is fucking devastating. So, no.
Of course, we know what happened at UFC 306. Merab dominated O'Malley in another one-sided beatdown. During Merab's post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, the UFC put Umar Nurmagomedov on screen to try and build that fight, but Merab refused to accept the call-out. At the UFC 306 post-fight press conference, Dana White spoke negatively about Dvalishvili despite his dominant performance, and instead he chose to speak about the fact that Sean O'Malley had a bad performance and how much of a great fighter O'Malley usually is. Generally, when Dana White dislikes certain champions, he speaks negatively about them in public at every opportunity. In the past, Dana did this to GSP, Chris Cyborg, Demetrius Johnson, Tyron Woodley, and Aljamain Sterling.
There was a kiss apparently.
Well, no, he didn't call timeout. What happened was Merab and O'Malley's corner were screaming at each other the whole beginning of the fight. Up and walking away before the bell. That I have no idea. Merab does some shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was weird, but not shocking.
His performance was what everybody would have expected. Were you disappointed with Sean? You know, Sean had fire in that last little bit when he was throwing those body kicks, but you didn't seem to see that fire from Sean maybe throughout that you might have expected.
I don't disagree with you. He looked flat. He didn't look sharp. He didn't look crisp until the last round. He hurt him with that body shot. He knew he hurt him with the body shot, and he kept going in and trying to finish. But, yeah, I don't agree. I mean, I looked at the punch stats. There's like 6 in a couple of the rounds. So,
do you feel like I don't know if you can put your finger on why he performed the way he did, but you know there was so many expectations on him, and this card was built and got so much hype, and then he is the star of the card. Do you think that might have impacted him in any way?
I mean, you'd have to ask him that. I don't know the answer to that question, but I think that he's one of those kids that lives for moments like this. I mean, this is what he's all about. He's that guy. I think that I don't know if he just got in there tonight and felt flat. You know, some nights it's just is what it is.
Nowadays, after UFC 306 at last night's Contender Series, Dana White continued to discredit Merab Dvalishvili by highlighting the fact that Sean O'Malley suffered a hip injury weeks before UFC 306.
O'Malley announces today he's having hip surgery, and I don't understand how these guys fight with he has a torn labrum, and then 2 days later they're having surgery. I mean, isn't there a process in place? That's a pretty significant injury. You can't, fight at your best performance if you have a torn labrum, right?
I agree.
So how do you prevent that from happening where they're supposed to disclose to the commission and they don't do that?
You can't. You know what I mean? If these guys come in and they have something and we don't know, I mean, how would the doctors check for a torn labrum? You know what I mean? You can't.
Yeah, knowing what you know now, does that explain the performance, or do you think Merab was just so good in that fight that he was going to win the fight on that given night anyways?
Literally everybody reached out to me that night and said, Sean O'Malley didn't look like himself. He didn't look explosive. He didn't look, all the same stuff we were all saying that night.
Right. And then lastly,
not to take anything from Rob, but
correct.
I mean, everybody felt that way.
Now the UFC wants to book Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov, but Merab says he doesn't want to face Nurmagomedov and wants to face Deiveson Figueiredo instead. I think if Merab refuses to accept the fight with Nurmagomedov, the UFC will find a way to strip his title, or they'll book an interim title fight between Umar Nurmagomedov and Deiveson Figueiredo. But that's the story behind why Dana White hates Merab Dvalishvili. How will the story end? Only time will tell.